Our first panel discussion, Powering Women to Thrive in the New Normal. This panel discussion will focus on what opportunities are now being made available for various kinds of women professionals, women in tech, women in leadership, and women returnees, to name a few. This will also be a good opportunity for women to discover the new policies and programs implemented in this time by companies that are committed to increasing the participation of women in the workforce. On the panel today, we have Gayatri Kunjithaya, Vice President, Human Resources, Citrix; Priti Singh, Senior Vice President, Human Resources, South Asia Mastercard; Sindhu P. Aravindakshan, Senior Director, Human Resources, Blue Yonder; Priya Singh, Country Head, Human Resources, Marvell; and Mellener and Coelho, Vice President and India Head, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, Northern Trust, who will also help us as the moderator of this panel. Get ready to watch some tough questions and answers get hashed out by this amazing panel, and post any questions that you have for them on the Q&A section of this platform. Welcome panelists, over to you.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Kajal, for that warm introduction. Apologies, I'm having some technology problem with my video. I'm not able to start it, but nevertheless, I'll get started with the conversation. So it's really a challenge to start this discussion after listening to Debjani's inspiring speech. It's a challenge, and it's also an opportunity to have this discussion. So the COVID-19 pandemic has presented us with an opportunity. It has changed the way we live and the way we work, and it will continue to change the way we live and the way we work. So if we look at what's happening today, right, and all of us are experiencing this as women, we hear this from our employees all the time. Yesterday, one of my team members was telling me, Mellener, I work at home and I work for the home. So there's a fair amount of, invisible labor out there. You are doing your daily job, you're managing the home, you're homeschooling, you are taking care of your parents, taking care of elders, and there's a lot going on out there. And when we look at the workplace, if it's a boardroom, if it's a corporate meeting, if it's a team leader, women have faced many biases over the years, but one of them that comes out strongly is the gender double bind. So when women take leadership positions, they're expected to be like their male counterparts. And, when they assert themselves, they say, oh, she's so aggressive. But when they exhibit the innate feminine style, oh, she's indecisive, she's not a strong leader. And this is a challenge that women over the years, have had to live with. But the COVID pandemic has changed everything. Look what's happening in Taiwan, in New Zealand, and in Germany, right? If you look at the way these female leaders have handled the pandemic, that gender bind narrative has changed forever. And if we look at some of the skills that are needed for the foreseeable future, I think I would rate 3. One is transparent and agile, transparent communication, the need to convey decisions in a timely and simple manner, whether it's about new job opportunities, job losses, changes in leadership. I think the second would be agility. And I'm not just talking about new technology, I'm talking about agility in terms of our leadership. The ability to manage a team remotely, virtual collaboration. And finally, as Debjani rightly put it, those professional skills that we need, resilience, empathy, and we'll hear a lot more of gratitude, kindness that comes our way. So when we look at these skills, I think it's a fabulous opportunity for women across levels as we move into the new normal. And this is the first time I'm moderating a panel with all women. And since the topic is powering women to the new normal, I'm feeling exceptionally powerful this morning. So I'm going to ask my first question to Priti Singh from Mastercard. And Priti, what do you think, or why do you think increasing women's participation is important in the post-COVID era?
Thank you, Mel, and thank you, Jobs, for her for giving this opportunity. Truly a delight to be participating in this event. I'll break my response in three broad buckets. One is the challenges women face in work environment. Enough has been talked about. That was more towards the pre-COVID area, whether it was flexible work arrangements, equal pay, women still make less money than men, race and gender bias, role models, not enough role models in the country for that matter at workplace, non-inclusive workplace. And the challenge that we've seen is that women in technology have faced even bigger challenges in the industry, which is perceived to be primarily male dominated. 40% of Indians who graduate in STEM discipline are women, yet only constitute 14% of the total 28,000 scientists, engineers, and research and development institutions in India. So that's what is the background. And if I talk about what women have an impact and why is it important to have more women in the leadership role and as an organization, the impact is immense. We all know it. I'm just sharing some of the stats for all of our reference that closing gap and having more women in the organization would not be only morally motivating, but also economically incentivizing. In fact, advancing women equality could add $12 trillion to the global growth. Research and studies that Indian economy still show that Indian economy itself could grow by additional 60%, 2.9 trillion by 2025 is what the numbers are indicating. So the bigger boost to the growth, higher productivity, more job satisfaction are some of the things that we have heard that that are the imperatives, business imperatives to have more women leaders. Talk before I come to the main topic of why more women and how should we really be increasing them. I think there's another study from Center of Creative Leadership that says higher percentage of women in organization predict higher job satisfaction, more organizational dedication. Leadership effectiveness of women, the 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 uh, the percentile scores for women are 52.1 versus 42.0. The effectiveness really proves the point that we need to have more women at the leadership roles. The new environment, as we just spoke about, creates a unique situation for us, and it could be a game changer for women in the workplace. It's a silver lining that has been created where the flexible work arrangements there existed, but then the whole taboo about having a job profile that could be delivered from work from home, that's become reality in the past 6 months. And that's something that is creating a lot more opportunities. If I speak about jobs for her, I did hear Neha say this, that work from home jobs posted on its platform just saw 30% increase in rise in March 2022 as compared to the same month in last year. I think these are the new dimensions that are created. From a work environment perspective, having more leaders will help because the new ways of working and new relationships, the ways of connecting are evolving. The leadership paradigms are changing. They are being reshaped to see that what are the new skills that the post-COVID situation is really showing us. And if I was to broadly put them into three buckets where women are just super at it, I'm not going to talk about the C's, the care, compassion, communication as well, but these are the critical skills that are coming out from World Economic Forum, IBM, and Harvard. They're saying that there are three broad skills: cognitive skills, emotional skills, and social skills. Example of a cognitive skill could be a critical thinking, creativity, innovation. Emotional skills, we know that emotional intelligence, adaptability, resilience, curiosity. These are like emotional skills that will be really highly in demand, and women by far exceed in doing this, exhibiting and managing their teams well. Social skills, the social intelligence, where we're working in the virtual environment. These social skills as cross-cultural competencies, collaborating, coordinating, are those skills that kind of will bring an advantage to the women leader as we work through this pandemic and post-pandemic as well. Before I conclude my comment, I'd like to talk about at Mastercard, we really committed to ensure that gender equality is not really it is something that only is employees' right, but it's a business imperative because it just helps us. Women at Mastercard are valued, engaged to a higher level because we know the success is really dependent on really driving a unique culture which is equal for men and women. We've looked at equal pay for equal work, etc. And I'm sure the next panelist is going to speak about the returnship program. But we put in a lot more focus on leadership development, returnship programs. We have women in technology. The future work skills, I mean, definitely what I do see that kind of will be an advantage for women professionals, looking at optimizing the available workforce capacity and reducing the silos, because we're much more collaborative and inclusive, kind of will create that platform. Talent development, upskilling, addressing the systemic biases, and strengthening the culture of inclusivity, well-being, from wellness to well-beings, looking at not only the employees but the customers, the clients, etc. And also this will help us accelerate the digital transformation of the whole organizations that we're kind of working on. Mel, that's what I wanted to comment on.
Thank you, Preeti. That's fantastic. I think, the piece on the need for those certain skills that women bring so innately to the workplace is very encouraging, not just for us, but all the women who are out there at this conference today. So speaking about opportunities, I'm going to ask Gayatri. Gayatri, could you tell us what are some of the opportunities available in your organization for women returnees, women in tech, and women in leadership?
Absolutely. First of all, again, as Priti said, I'm really honored to be participating in this. Thank you, Jobs for Her and HerRising, to be creating this opportunity for us to, giving us the platform to speak. And very happy to represent Citrix in this. And I want to tackle this conversation a little more broadly, as again, specifically speaking about programs and opportunities. I also want to take this opportunity to respond to one of the questions that you received earlier around, it is a humbling experience that the world is in the middle of a pandemic, and Citrix has technology that enables our customers and partners to actually keep workforce, enable them to work remotely, enable them to work anywhere. And that's sort of an humbling experience. I'm also here to tell you that we have more than 600 job opportunities worldwide that we just announced as of last week. And I highly encourage those of you, especially on the technology side, to check us out. And I think when I talk about this sort of more broadly, Mellener, one of the proudest aspects is this reality that Citrix has over 30 years of experience building technology around the simple and yet powerful idea that work is not a place. And I know that every woman that has logged on to this call understands that, because women inherently work with the notion that work is not a place. And women are incredibly hardworking because they ideate around this idea that work is not a place, right? So, and our technology enables people to do their best work securely, accessing data and apps anywhere on any device, at any time. And so it's really boils down to our technology enables diversity because it empowers people to find the space they need to do their best work. And we know that that best work is not necessarily being office bound. That best work can come to a woman engineer while she's sitting on a weekend, attending to something, but comes a flash of idea, right? So it's about flexibility, freedom, and choice. And we feel particularly proud that our technology enables workforce to stay, women workforce in particular, to stay in the workforce because of the idea that you can do your work remotely. And we know that our customers and partners have stayed productive even during the pandemic, as they have had to make shifts to being flexible and work from home. Our own women employees have used our technology. This has been particularly important for young mothers, caregivers, women in general, as they've had to navigate particularly challenging personal demands and work on a daily basis. And the thing that kept them within workforces having remote access to their work systems, to their apps and everything. So very proud of the fact that in a very direct way, the work we do, the work that Citrix does, supports women and gender diversity at workplace. And in more broadly, our people programs are in support, are guided by our values. We've looked at things like expanding our parental leave to be more inclusive and gender neutral. So our parental leave of 18 weeks and more actually is not just for women. And the idea behind that is it's not just about impacting women employees that work with you, but it's also about communities at large, right? If you are having a male employee that is taking the time off to do his parental leave obligations when they welcome a new child home, it is also providing the freedom and flexibility for their partner to not stay out of workplace. So we look at this a little more holistically, guided by our values, and it's not just, again, about gender diversity. For 3 years in a row, we've been the best place to work on LGBTQ equality. Very proud of that. We also have very deep partnership with organizations like Girls Who Code, because they focus on closing the gender gap in technology through STEM education. I'll talk about three things that we believe gender diversity and representation in the workforce requires a holistic approach. It's about right opportunities, it's about enablement, and it's about providing the right environment for women to grow and succeed. Talking about opportunities, very proud that we have many strong leaders, women leaders at the top in key business and technical talent. And I saw myself nodding my head as Debjani was talking, because we do have people like her, very energetic and role models and sponsors for other women in the company. Our chief information officer, our head of investor relations, our head of design, product design, our CHRO, our head of channel sales. So many women I can think of that are at the top and acting as role models and sponsors and speak for other women at workplace. We also ensure that we have a commitment to diversity at grassroots level, especially in technical talent, because we believe that is foundational to growing internal pipeline for women, future leaders for ourselves. On enablement and empowerment and environment, our people practices are designed to be inclusive first. I want to call that out because while it is gender diversity, it's also about being inclusive. It's not just about tracking a number, chasing a number. And that thinking has guided us in pretty much all of the policies and programs we bring in place on the people practices front. Just like I think Priti said earlier, we are committed to gender pay equity decisions, not just at the time of hiring, but also all through the employee life cycle. And we're increasingly holding ourselves accountable by wanting to build transparency on our metrics and our commitment to pay equity and such decisions more in a public domain, even in countries where we don't have a legal obligation. Of course, we have resources like Women International Network that provide women, that are actually run by very strong women, mentoring opportunities and training opportunities. One of the things that we've been particularly in the last 1 year hyper-focused on is the idea that our people managers need to be trained around bias mitigation and creating an inclusive work culture. We run several workshops globally and in India to equip our managers with real-world aids on how to bring women talent into the company. One of the exceptional work that we've done is around making our job descriptions, carefully curating our job descriptions to make them gender neutral and use language that invite women, that don't repel women, that invite women into these opportunities, not scare them off, but tell them that, hey, here's an opportunity and I want to try this. So we're looking at, and I think Mellener used the word agility as she introduced this panel. I love that, because we're looking at learning and evolving with agility on our diversity aspirations. It's about making meaningful changes at the end of the day that make the biggest difference.
Thank you, Gayatri. Just listening to you and Priti, I'm feeling a little envious right now. I started my career 20 years ago, and I wish there were so many opportunities, enablers, and fantastic leaders like you out there. So, and I think this is a great opportunity for all the professionals at the conference looking to start or restart their careers. Speaking of opportunities and enablers, I'm going to ask Priya. Priya, what do you think are some of the policies, processes, and enablers that are out there for women to accelerate their careers in the new normal?
Hi, a very good morning to everybody here, and a big thank you for all the audience that is there and listening to us. So what I would like to start off with is just a bit about Marvell. Marvell, we develop and deliver semiconductor solutions, right? And we are part of everything that you see as technology across the world. And in Marvell, we believe in walking the talk, right? And throughout the pandemic, we've been committed to supporting our employees to do our best. And two examples I would like to start by sharing is that we recently had a recovery weekend, right? And we had a Friday and a Monday off, and all employees across the globe, we got a 4-day weekend, as we call it. And in my career of 18 plus years, this has been the first time ever I have had 4 days where I truly got time off, right? It was truly a recovery time for all of us across the globe. And I say this because it is important as organizations, while we look at numbers, while we look at, we talk about it in different forums, I think it is important for what we actually do for our employees, what we do for our women employees, what we do for our employees in general. So I think I start off with that just to set the context that Marvell truly believes in ensuring that the employees are given the opportunity to do their best. one of the key behaviors or the core behaviors that we have is to help others achieve their objectives. And when I heard Debjani talking, Priti talking, right, there is so much support, help that employees in general and women in particular need to achieve their ambition, to achieve their career aspirations, and so on and so forth. And in Marvell, we have spent a lot of time, thought, thinking about how best can we support, what are the programs, what are the policies that we can have that can truly help women achieve their objectives, right? And whatever we do, right, we've kept this at the front and center of everything that we do, that how do we help them achieve their aspiration and what they believe in. So there are 3 programs that I would like to talk about, right, which truly follow this dictum, right? One is that we have a campus outreach program. Now the question might be, so what's different about it, right? And here's what is different, right? So one is that we have our women leaders who are technology leaders who actually support and mentor the students, right? And in what way do they do it? So they give an orientation on technology that we work on. They talk about how to crack interviews, right? What are some of the questions that may be asked? How do you answer that? So on and so forth. So this also builds confidence in the students, in the women students, right? We hold panel discussions in the colleges and campuses, and some of them are very specific for women students. This also helps the women students to reach out to our women leaders at later point in time, and they can act as mentors to these women students. And this has been a big draw and a help for us, because there are students out there who truly don't know whom they need to reach out to, and this has made a big difference in their lives. The second one is we run internally, we run a program called Am I In? Right, and this is one of our signature programs that we run, and it is designed to bring in more of self-awareness, the self-limiting beliefs, right? Dejani spoke about how we should not hold ourselves back, we need to be confident, we need to be out there. So I think some of these self-limiting beliefs need to be broken, and our program addresses those directly. We also talk about building resilience and networking. Now, that is something that I think we are not very confident in doing when it comes to networking, stakeholder management, and I think some of the other panelists have spoken about it as well. And we have identified these as some of the areas that we need to focus on. And again, these areas have been identified through focus group discussions, through surveys by our own women employees. So this is for them, with them, that we have created these programs. We, of course, have women at a Marvell internship program, where we have senior experts from across the globe at Marvell supporting, helping women in doing their best. So these are the 3 key signature programs I thought I would talk about at Marvell. And of course, we have other policies, programs that you can reach out to us and we can talk more about it, right? But in my experience, what I've seen is that there is always, the intent is always to help everybody do their best, and I have seen the organization walk the talk. So that's what I would end this with. Yeah. Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, Priya. That was fantastic. And for all of you out there, some great opportunities at Marvell. And I personally, Priya, she's extremely passionate about everything she does, so really walks the talk. And it gives me great pleasure to ask this question to our last panelist, Sindhu. This is an important question. While when the lockdown started and all of us have been working remotely, what we constantly hear is, when do we log on, when do we log off? Are we supposed to take calls at 9 in the night? And if I don't, will my manager pull me up, right? These are things that all of us hear. So while all of us, have adopted different strategies to deal with this topic, I'm going to ask Sindhu. Sindhu, what would your advice be to women out there to ensure that they have a healthy work-life integration when we work remotely?
Sure. Thank you, Mellener. Thank you.
Just taking a minute to jump in.
Sure.
Sindhu, sorry to interrupt you. Just to let you
know,
no
problem,
we
Kajal.
Have about 5 minutes, and then we'll be glad to start taking questions from the audience,
sure,
which I'm sure you will enjoy just as much. So just a gentle
sure,
reminder.
Sure, Kajal. Thanks for that heads up. So thank you so much. And I represent a company called Yonder. We went through a name change. We were formerly called GDS Software. So to strengthen our brand, as well as to give a facelift to the work that we're doing, we kind of went through a name change in the month of February. So we are now called Yonder. Please do visit our booth, and we have a number of job openings for you to apply and explore. So to answer Mellener's question around work-life integration, and that's what I would love to call it. I know many people enjoy calling this work-life balance. When everyone worked in a brick and mortar office, we were either at work or we were not at work. For most of us, not being at work meant we weren't working. This view set up a strict dichotomy between work and the rest of our lives. But times have changed, right? Thanks in part to technology, namely the internet. Work can now be done from nearly anywhere. With the lines between work and home life getting blurred, even professionals that I know of with best time management skills often find it hard to strike a balance. Part of that difficulty also stems from unrealistic expectations from ourselves and from others. Indeed, the idea of balance implies an equal or opposite focus on two tasks, right? Which means that you're clearly creating a distinct differentiation between work and what you do outside of work. You're either doing one or the other with little or no overlap. So what is work-life integration? I want to quote two organizational researchers, Jeffrey Greenhouse and Saroj Parashuraman, way back in 1994, who said that integration happens when attitudes in one role positively spills over into another role, or when experiences in one role serve as resources that enrich another role in one's life. So practically speaking, this means that professionals allow their work tasks and personal tasks to kind of blend together and inform each other, right? So how do we apply work-life integration especially in these times when all of us are working from home, right? So the first thing that I would probably give you 4 tips. So let me number them, 4 tips. One is to develop a realistic and inclusive schedule. Gone are the daily to-do list that only include work meetings or project deadlines. Like when planning for the work ahead, let's etch out all our priorities, from our yoga routine to lunch with kids to how do I support my child who's actually attending a virtual classroom, or even for a family lunch or dinner. Right? This strategy allows you to probably plan and prioritize all the tasks you need to complete, whether it is sending an email to a client or cooking that dinner or lunch, for the weekend. However, this works best for you. Helping you keep track of your commitments and managing your time ensures whether neither your personal obligations nor your work responsibilities are being put on back burner. Schedule time in blocks. And why is this important? Whenever possible, avoid jumping from one task to the other. Try scheduling, and this is my mantra. I schedule and I put it on my calendar, a 2-hour block to allow enough time to truly focus on what you want to work on, whether it is designing a new program or putting together and project plan. But don't forget to include breaks. I don't know if you've heard of this technique called Pomodoro technique, which advises working for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break to optimize your productivity. So try and look that up. Don't forget to coordinate. Coordinating your schedule with other members of your household as well as other members of your work team will go a long way to both ensure that everyone is on the same page to avoid having to do double duty with your time. Like, for example, taking support from your parents or in-laws, whoever is living with you. Use that support system to take care of your child while you are on a call like this, right? Taking help from your spouse to cook on a particular day while you are attending an important meeting. Establishing boundaries, very, very important. The best way to prevent scope creep when integrating a work and life task is to set a few ground rules, stick to them. Your managers, I know, will understand that you're human beings and you've got to unplug. And I heard Priya talk about recovery days. We call it recharge days. It's important you make the best use of those recharge days. Now, why does that make sense? Because the entire organization is recharging at the same time. So you're able to unplug, but creating that, switching off your laptop is very important because you have switched off for the day. And that's key. The bottom line is applying a framework of work-life integration to your life will only help you reduce stress and contribute and make you more productive end of the day. With a little planning, following this model, the 4 tips that I just shared with you, will allow you to take advantage of the flexibility that's offered, especially today when all of us are working from home. And I hope this helps all of us and all the audience today who are listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sindhu. And before I hand over to Kajal, I just want to share something with the group and something I was reading from UN Women. It says, don't forget to wear your mask, don't forget to use sanitizer, and don't forget to smash patriarchy. I would just give that a bit of twist. So please don't forget to wear your mask. Please do use your sanitizer, but don't smash anything. We don't want any violence. But what I'd encourage all the ladies out there is to be aware that patriarchy exists. It's here to stay. It's not going to disappear overnight. How do we meander ourselves around it? So we can choose to be victims of a broken world, or we can choose to be architects of a brighter future. And my personal advice to all the girls out there is, you are allowed to say no. It's okay to ask for help. And please remember, your productivity does not define you. Thank you. Kajal, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mellener. Thank you for that, panelists. We do have a few questions that have come in from the audience, and as time permits, we will take them up. However, the first question is from Shania. And her question is, how do you break the stigma of coming off as aggressive in a male-dominant industry when you're merely being yourself and are innately a strong human? Who would like to go at that?
Hey, Kajal, I can start, and I'll definitely ask other panelists. This is something I think Mellener put it really well. Debjani put it really well. This is something, the double bind that we that we speak of. In my experience, and I've seen other women leaders that I admire really do this well. It is really about being yourself. I don't think when you ask a male leader how particularly self-reflective he is of his style, you don't necessarily, he's not feeling conscious about every move, everything I said in this meeting. Did I overspeak? Did I misspeak? Did I not give the other person a chance? And I have myself been a victim of that sort of self-inflicted injury, as I call it. And with more gray hair, more experience, and more, frankly, mentoring, the one thing I've realized is it is about being yourself. And it is not about thinking that the spotlight is on you and you're constantly looking at your own behavior and how it measures up to this yardstick you've put in your head, saying, I have to be this ideal leader. I really think we have to, as women, let go. And also attached to that idea is this thing that we should not be seeking perfectionism. It's not about being perfect. It's not about getting perfection in the projects and the deliveries we have. It's not about being the perfect leader, the perfect employee, the perfect mom, perfect what have you, right? So I think that this notion of assessing ourselves on a daily basis is a self-inflicted injury that women cause to themselves at careers. That's, to me, the best career advice I've got, I guess, but more to the panel.
I totally agree. Sorry, I might. I know. I just wanted to add to what Gayatri said. Well put, Gayatri. I think two things that I wanted to share. I think not to overanalyze, and your competence speaks, right? And beyond a point, I think it is not gender. So I just wanted to share this.
I would agree to Gayatri and Sindhu. I would say, we also need to find time to network with our peers and friends and colleagues. While this is like, we don't want to get judged and we don't want to really self-inflict that discipline, but sometimes to understand other people's perspective and why is that so, what do you think is something that also helps us grow as a professional and in the journey that we are at. So be open to that piece as well, in addition to what my fellow panelists have said. I'd like to just add. Back to you, Kajal.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Anyone else who wants to say anything to that question? All right, I can move on to the next one. In today's time, this is Priyanka Ray's question. In today's time when diversity is being given such importance, there are in reality many corporates who do not entertain new mothers, and she says she has faced that rejection several times after the mention of her maternity break. How could we make corporates understand that we are still professionals who took a break but are now back?
A
Can I
great
go
forum
first?
for this question, right? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll
Go, Sindhu. Go, go, go.
Now, I was saying great forum, right? We're talking about jobs for her who actually promote a lot of women who are taking a break and coming back to workforce. And I totally agree. I think the sensitivity is very important, right? It's important to sensitize because a lot of times there is this notion saying just because you have taken a break, you may not be up to date in terms of technology or skills, etc. But I know a lot of women out there who are probably making a comeback with a little bit of brushing up. They are able to excel or even do better than many people who have been in the workforce for a longer time. So I guess it's a question of how do we, one, sensitize leaders, managers, and people who are making these decisions. The second thing is with Jobs for Her, with many organizations such as Jobs for Her and many organizations having returnship programs, the industry is moving in that direction, and you see a lot of them are now talking very proudly about their programs such as the returnship program. So looks like the trend is changing. I know we have a long way to go, but the trend is changing and we are probably there for a better tomorrow.
Thank you for that, Sindhu.
The only other thing that I would add to what Sindhu said is it's very important, and this comes from the heart. I had my daughter when I was 41, and which was pretty much at a fairly advanced stage in my career. And returning back, there have been moments when I've asked myself, should I self-select out? How do I find that balance? I think it's very important to talk to people, and actually this doesn't have to be other women that have been mothers. That's a common misconception, saying only it's somebody that has been walked in my shoes and been a mom will be able to help me. I think if you at Citrix, I've spoken to people that don't necessarily have the exact same situation, but that have inspired me to stay back. And I just want to call out that many women self-select out because of this idea that I cannot find that balance. I will not do justice in my job and to my child if I do this. So I highly encourage women to hang in there and find that balance and negotiate. And as Sindhu said, more and more employers are today taking the accountability that it's not just for the woman to figure out how to make this work when they return back after maternity break. It's also for the organization to create the environment and enablement again and opportunities that keep them right. It is very important for companies to evaluate these as success stories. We do that. I know that. We customize on a case-on-case basis what is the best way to help this woman stay back as well as come back to workplace. And I know that all of the panelists here have similar programs.
I'll just take 30 seconds. We're hiring at Mastercard women who have taken a career break. If you ever taken a career break, which is more than 3 months, up to 2 years, please visit our website and connect with me on LinkedIn. We're hiring big time. And Jobs for Her is going to facilitate the whole process for you and for us. So please do that.
Hey, before we close out on this topic, I just had one point to make here. I think it's important to understand why an organization is not willing to accept women who are returning mothers, right? I think these are conversations that we need to have, and not just amongst women, but amongst men and all those who are in decision-making positions, right? And I think sometimes either these discussions are shoved under the carpet or not discussed enough to get to the root cause, right? So I think it's important to ask why do you think that this person will not be effective? Why do you think as a person who's interviewing this, why have you found this person not suitable, right? I think we sometimes, and I'm saying we as a collective, right, people who are in leadership positions, that we don't ask these questions enough because it just makes the situation more uncomfortable. Right? But it is important for us to go back and understand why we are doing this kind of decisions, right? And then take the corrective actions. And when we have such forums, it's important for us to include our more important counterparts, the male as well, because whether we like it or not, the proportion of male in the leadership positions, in the decision-making positions, is still very, very high. Right. So it is for us to ask those questions, become unpopular, right? But get those answers and change the mindsets. It's going to be a slow process, I think, but we've achieved leaps and bounds, right? We've come a long way, and all of us, I think, collectively individually have 20 plus years of experience. And when we look back to where we were and where we are, I think it's an amazing journey, right? So I think, yeah, in another 10 years, when we look back and in a similar forum, I'm sure the topics will be very, very different. Hope so. Cross my fingers on it. Thanks, Kajal.
Thank you, Priya. Well, definitely, there was a lot that came off this panel. And Priyanka, I sure hope you have your answer with all of our panelists taking a stab at it. I do want to thank all the panelists and our moderator, Mellener, for being here today, for taking the time. There was so much that came off the panel, but the one thing that stood out for me would be, as women, we probably need to stop assessing ourselves and stop afflicting this self-injury on ourselves, which Gayatri brought out as well during the panel. There may be a lot of background that, our conditioning that has gone into making us this way, but there's a lot available today for us to unlearn and relearn. So with platforms like these, that is becoming even more accessible and available. Stay tuned, everyone. Thank you, dear panelists, for being here.